So I decided to take on a 200k Funder Pro challenge recently, and I've decided to vlog and document this process. Quick market recap. We've got the SP 500 here on the screen, and we can see that counter 4-hour move sell.
Hey guys, so it's been a couple of weeks and I thought I'd recap you on what status I am on the 200k challenge. Hello and welcome to a very dark UK Tuesday morning. However, weekly update it is. If I jump over to the screen and show you, first of all, the Tradelocker accounts. This is the platform that I've been using, which is just so good. You don't have to calculate your lot sizes, shifting from indexes to Forex pairs. The biggest question I get actually on, let's say, Instagram, not so much in the mentorship, but on Instagram, is how do you calculate your lot sizes? Well, let me just show you in here. When you go to Tradelocker, you literally click risk and then you choose whatever risk. So if it's 1% risk, you put 1 and it automatically calculates it for you. That's just something I wanted to show you. If you've not used Tradelocker before, and I'm not an affiliate, I don't get paid by them, they don't even have an affiliate program. It's just so good that I want you to make sure that you're not missing out on this. But anyway, you can see down the bottom here in closed positions, you've got some of my trades, obviously some winners, some losers, some break evens, that's natural. I've got a balance on the 200k at 215,200. And if I move over to the Funder Pro dashboard, you can see the balance there. So it's nicely in profit. And yeah, just under 40% win rate, like I've been saying throughout the video, the last 3-4 weeks. Typically my win rate's about 40%, but you've got to factor in there are break evens in this, so it will calculate that. As well as like the average win is only $3,000, but it's calculating some negative $50, positive $100, which are basically break even. So it's averaging the whole thing. We can go down here and have a look. I'm within the consistency rule. I'm just under the 45% consistency rule. I've traded 14 days and I've not breached any rules on the daily drawdown or max permitted drawdown. And I'm only 4.769k off, so a little over 2% away from profit target on the phase 1, which is pretty good. You can see my equity curve here. I've ran through it with you before, but I'll do it again. So I started in profit 1%, and then I got drawdown about 1.5%. So, we all hit drawdown, especially the early stages of a challenge is where you're more likely to hit some drawdown. But then since then, it's been basically 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So in profit, in more profit, give some back, in more profit, give some back, and then in more profit. And that's the way that I like to look at challenges, as that 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Don't have the expectation it's all going to be upside, because if you're in a challenge for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks or beyond, you are going to have some losing trades. As long as your winners are making back more than your losers, so my average win is 3 times more than my average loss. So even with a low win rate, I'm still going to be in profit. So that's looking good there. And yeah, like I say, I've got about 2.5%, 2.7% profit to make to pass the challenge. So I'll let you know how I get on. I wanted to show you on TradingView a few of the trades that I actually took, if you're interested. If I skip over to TradingView, I've been mostly trading the German DAX, to be honest, because it's been very clean. Very little on EU. Even on the US 500, I've not really taken that many trades. There has been opportunity across the board on our watch list, but I've been primarily focusing on the DAX, and you can see the last week or so it's been very, very good. There are some losers, so I took only like a $200 loss on that, because I actually manually closed before core inflation rate. I wouldn't hold through that. But price basically came back, was slightly in drawdown, and I closed off 30 minutes before. But there's been some of these trades that I've held to these TPs, and there was some earlier on. I don't take all of these. These are also my journal. So any trades that I didn't take, that I missed, or those that I did take and potentially didn't manage correctly. I mentioned before, there have been some trades that I've been in good profit, and I would look back on my journaling and say I could have managed them better. And that's one thing as a professional trader that you should have, is the ability to be able to critique your own actions. Like, I have not put myself on a pedestal as the best trader out there, and I've mentioned this before, that I'm always going to make mistakes, and that's why you should journal your trades and have them on a chart somewhere. So every single trade you take, make sure you put it down here, and at the end of the day or the end of the week, look at it and go, could I have done something different? And there was a few trades like this one here that I actually cancelled early because of the Fed Chair Powell speech. It wasn't a restricted event, so I could have held through that, and that actually went to the 4-hour high, which was my target, which was like 8.8%. And I've been risking 1% on all of my positions, by the way, so that would have absolutely passed the challenge. You can see an overnight hold, but I closed out for something like 1% because I didn't feel comfortable that day holding through a Fed Chair Powell speech. That's going to be something that's personal preference. You can see it didn't really do much to the market. It doesn't really affect the German DAX as much as US heavily based indices and pairs, but it is what it is. But yeah, a few of the most recent positions have been very good. We had a sell here, which was after taking a 4-hour high. You can see this large 4-hour high. And then we had a 15-minute shift to the downside. And then price engineered liquidity, took Asia highs, and then I could have got in here during London, but I didn't. I wanted to wait for further development, so I basically waited for New York. What did New York do? It engineered more liquidity here, and then I got in a few candles later. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 possible entries in just New York session, so you don't always have to be like rushing around to your laptop to try and get to the charts. Sometimes price hangs around a little bit. Unfortunately for me, it did decide to hang around. I took profit at the 15-minute lows there for 2.7% on that. Of course, I could have made more, but the 4-hour low is way down here, and it never reached that. So that would have been a break even if I got greedy. So this is the thing. Have a look at where the obvious areas of liquidity are. Where is price likely to drive to? And the fact that price actually in this area soon after, it didn't react off of anything because we had a 4-hour high up here. Let me draw this on. 4-hour high here, and we had a 4-hour low down here, and price only got just below the EQ, maybe around the 61.8 ratio. We'll see. But the fact that I locked in some profits, I was happy with that. As soon as I saw price slow down, I do like to take, you could call it reversals, even though I was anticipating the 4-hour highs to go at this point anyway. But I do like to take entries off of or soon after a 4-hour sweep, but sometimes you don't get it like this. But there was a definite slowdown in price. It failed to commit to the downside. And then if you have a look at the nature of price inside here in this circle, if I draw this on, so if this retrace was really going to roll over to the downside, what would it have done? Taken Asia highs and more, and then it would have continued lower, right? But it failed to do that. It pushed lower, and then literally a candle or two later, so within 30 minutes, it started pushing higher. So I took that on a lower time frame, essentially a 1-minute hedge against a failed 15-minute sweep to the downside. And that's something that I'm teaching in the Trading Accelerator. And that wasn't just one position that I took with that theory. I took the same theory here. So again, if 15-minute is going to take 15-minute liquidity like this and then retrace, which it did. If I move these out of the way, you can see that rejection here and that bearish candle next. And I didn't go short off that because you'd need a really large stop loss on that. And again, I was anticipating 4-hour highs to be taken up here. Most of your work on directional bias should be on the higher time frame. We use the 4-hour. But again, I took the risk of taking a sell and took just a tiny bit of loss on that, like literally 0.1%, I think it was. $200 risk on a 200K, it's nothing. And it was a case of, okay, if this sweep here that took London highs was going to commit to the downside, it would not then just retrace a candle later. So I took a 1-minute hedge against a failed 15-minute sweep and held this one overnight. I actually held this through PPI, MOM, so it's not a restricted event. And I did initially, those that watch my Instagram stories, I did share this trade when we were around here. and I trailed my stop loss to lock some profits in underneath there, but I moved my stop back to literally entry point, and I was very lucky that I didn't get taken out for break even at that point. So it could have been a break even trade, but I'm glad that I decided to hold through that being a non-restricted event. Although red folder doesn't tend to impact the market that much, but it did that day. And I'm also glad that I moved my stop back. I didn't want to move it back to its original place and take a loss after holding it overnight as well. But I'd moved my stop to break even, and you can see price came very close to taking me out for that, but I stayed in, and then it hit my take profit at that 4-hour high absolutely perfectly. And there will be some footage somewhere on the screen here just showing you those final moments on the Tradelocker platform, just to show that that was the last trade that I took that got me to a point of 215,000 on the account. But yeah, that's an update, and I'll probably give you another update either towards the back end of this week or early next week. Again, I've got no expectation of when I'm going to pass this challenge, or even if I'm going to pass it. I might end up going all the way back into drawdown, who knows? And that's why I'm documenting this process, and I don't want the video to be too long, so I'm just documenting a couple of sessions each week, and I'll let you know how I get on. And by the way, before you get going, I've been sent some merch from Tradelocker. Thanks guys from Tradelocker. So I'm going to be having a look through here. There's some hoodies and some other merch in here. I'm not really a hat guy, but I'll probably give this to one of my kids. But yeah, that's cool. Some clothes maybe to work out in. Anyway, see you later. There we have it. Phase 1 is now complete. 20k reached on the 200, and that's the challenge. The phase 1 passed in around 4 trading weeks. So it's pretty much what I kind of expected, and I'd much rather pass a challenge, a 10% profit target challenge in 4 weeks over a period of, let's say, 20-30 trades, than trying to do it in one go, like trying to risk 4.5 or 5% in one trade, losing 15 accounts just to pass one on the gamble that it wins. And I know a lot of traders are doing that, but this shows consistency. Unfortunately, I can't show you the trading dashboard. I have emailed FundedPro support to see if they can give me access to it. But what happens when you pass phase 1 is it automatically switches it onto phase 2. So everything's set back to 0 again. But if you remember, my win rate was around 40%, and it remained around there. I didn't really take many trades over the last 2 weeks. I think I took 4 trades in the last 2 weeks. So that's pretty average at the moment. Most of my trades, especially winning trades, have come from the German DAX. And that's always been at the top of my priority list. I did mention earlier on in the first 2 weeks, there was a few mismanaged trades. There was a few that I was running 3 or 4%, got a little bit greedy, moved my stops to break even to cover any risk, and it came back and took me out for break even. And there was also quite a few trades in there with restricted news that went on to hit profit target for 5, 6, 7%, but I had to close out for almost nothing to make sure I'm not breaching any rules. So again, it shows its consistency. It shows that even with consistency rules, you can pass a challenge. Even with certain limits around trading news events, you can pass challenges. And even though it's a 10%, because there's a lot of prop firms out there that are 5, 6, 7% profit target, you can still, with all those rules, and it's not the easiest challenge to pass, but it shows it can be done. And if you're willing to keep showing up every day for 4 weeks, then you can find yourself in a position that I'm in. So I'm now into phase 2. I haven't taken any trades on that yet. Phase 2 is actually 8%, so it still has the same rules apply in terms of max drawdown, daily drawdown, consistency rule, and news events to not trade through. So I will keep drilling away at that and waiting for high probability setups. If I jump over to the screen, I will run through the trade that actually helped me pass this challenge. So it was German DAX. It was this long which was a Monday New York trade, and it was an overnight hold and hit profit midday yesterday. So this was based on actually looking at the daily. If we look at this low that was taken, and we had that immediate reaction from this area. Daily and 4-hour highs and lows, especially on the DAX, are really powerful areas of rejection, especially because we don't really have commitment. When we zoom out as a macro, it's a bullish index, right? But I've made a lot of profit on selling because right now we're pretty much range bound, right? It's not really committed to the upside, it's not really committed to the downside, not in terms of the daily. What we can also look at as well as a nice confluence for buys is when we broke out of this final bearish range, we had one high and then we had a second high. So there's multiple daily confluences behind taking buys in this region. If I remove that and drop down to the 4-hour, we can see, if I remove these, that's for today, we can mark it out as a 4-hour low, we can mark it out as a daily low. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but this is the reaction I'm playing away from, and this is the 4-hour high I'm playing towards. So there's two things that I use the 4-hour for. It's areas of reaction to take trades away from once I'm expecting it to be a sweep area. And then the second reason I use a 4-hour area is for trading towards. So I'm trading away from this liquidity sweep and I'm trading into this next 4-hour high. Now, if I go to the 15-minute, which was my entry, and this short I've just closed out this morning on another account. But this was the buy, which was quite simply a shift at that 4-hour daily sweep. You can see I circled that. Just as simply a mitigation and continuation during London, so nothing for me. And then quite simply a 15-minute sweep of the lows during New York session, retrace candle just here, got tagged in on the next one, and then you can see that 4-hour high here, which was taken. I'll show you the screenshot running and hitting profit right now on the Tradelocker platform, so you can see that I'm not manipulating anything. I can't show you the dashboard because it's reset for the phase 2, like I say. But at least you can see, if you zoom in properly on the screen now, you will see it running to 220k, which is the profit target. I'll also put up on the screen here the email that I received from them to say congratulations, you've passed phase 1. So I'll pop that up on the screen now. And that's basically it. So hopefully you've taken value away from this vlog. I obviously, every time I do these vlogs, and this is the 3rd time I've vlogged a funding challenge on YouTube, and I've released all of them and I happen to have passed them all. It doesn't mean that I don't fail challenges, because I will, and I have in the past, I will in the future. It doesn't make you a bad trader. It's actually quite difficult to run 10% on one account without taking any withdrawals. You look at challenges differently to a live account. You wouldn't run a live account to 10% before you take profit. You would run it to maybe 3, 4, 5% and then withdraw, and just keep doing that on repeat. So it is very difficult actually to get to 10%. At least there's no time limit. Probably would have been scraping the barrel really if I had a 30-day time zone on this, or would have maybe have to do a free reset. But we don't have that problem anymore. And there's been a lot of traders in the community that I've been working very closely with my new one-on-one mentorship, the Traders Accelerator, which by the way is very limited. This is not a volume game. I'm only looking to work with around 5 traders a week max, because it's one-on-one. If you are interested in getting results like these, I'll just stick on the screen with some of my Trading Accelerator students who have been doing incredibly well in a very short space of time, literally getting those kind of results in around 4 or 5 weeks. And you don't need any previous evolution markets or the power of 2 trading experience. You can come in with a fresh slate, an open book, and you can learn how I'm trading like this right now, which is 90% 15-minute entries, and then the other 5 to 10% is off the 5-minute or the lower time frame, depending on what the 15-minute sets up. But yeah, Thanks for watching. I hope you took value away from this. I will leave a link below if you're interested in finding out a bit more about the Traders Accelerator program, and I will see you on the next one.